for Dada. Did you see it?
Screen's made for a wheelbarrow, but I want to use it on that buggy. Problem solved. I'm gonna try to do like 3 buckets. Get as much of this as I can. I put a bunch of old pepper stalks in it last year, and they didn't break down real fast, so this is kind of hard to dig through. But I'll manage.
Oh yeah, I heard the woodpecker. It was Woody?
I'll go dig you some up.
Yep, it works.
I really wanted to make this better. I could stock a few screws in that to hold this on there, or maybe even take the other piece and put 2 on it so it would sit right on there, but I'm not going to do that. We've already got about a 5-gallon bucket full of it.
Yeah.
We'll have to go get in our bucket. Okay. 4 buckets. You trying to get my sweat? We have 4 buckets of compost is what I got out of that pile. You can see back here's the stuff that was screened out of it. Now we are going to go out back of the garage and get our used potting soil. I store it in a trash can out back, and we're just going to take everything down to the house and mix it up and put it in the containers. This is where I store our used potting soil. This is just out back of my garage. This has been used for 2 years now. Last year I did the same thing that we're getting ready to do right now. So we're going to put all of this potting soil in this buggy, and we're just going to go ahead and take it down to the house and mix everything up. These are the bags we're going to be growing in. They're grow bags or root pruning pouches. They do really good for peppers and tomatoes and stuff like that. This is a 10-gallon, and I have a 20-gallon. The 10 gallons are about the best to do peppers and tomatoes and stuff. So we'll show you how we mix it up and put it in there in just a minute.
So why do you mix old potting soil with your new compost?
Putting new compost in this and new coconut husk is going to make it retain moisture better, and it's going to add some nutrient back to it. And using this again kind of bulks up the mix. That way you don't have to buy so much stuff or try and find so much compost and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, soil is expensive.
Yeah, you can see it looks good. It's basically all compost. Whenever I first started, I'd done all coconut husk and compost, and I threw in some perlite, which is pretty well what we're going to do, but we just use it to amend it instead of just completely build it out of it.
Yeah.
This one's going to be a little heavy. Main reason I like the 10-gallon is I can pick those up pretty easy, but this 20-gallon one weighs a ton. You can see it's got some roots left in it. Most of that will just decay down and make more nutrients for the plants. This is kind of light because it's been in this container and covered up, so I'm going to be able to brew it over in there. Let's see, 32-gallon trash can is enough to fill up 3 of the 10-gallon grow bags. This thing's gonna be heavy.
Do you need a hand? Wow, that was impressive.
That was heavy. That's why my back hurts all the time.
I see the root.
Yeah, you see them right there?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what is a root?
Root is a root.
Oh, yeah?
We have everything we need now to start amending our old potting soil. This is a 10-gallon grow bag. I like this size the best. These come off of Amazon. We'll put a link in the description below for them. Our fertilizers that we're going to use, we have tomato tone fertilizer. That is a 4-6-8 fertilizer. And we have a blood meal. The blood meal is going to give it a little extra nitrogen because these will dry out pretty quick during the summer where they're cloth, so they'll be watered a lot. You want to add a little extra nitrogen because it's going to flush through. We have some perlite. We're just going to throw a few handfuls of that in as we mix it. That'll help with the drainage and aeration of the soil. Down here we have our compost that we screened out, and we have the coconut husk that I rehydrated. I did it a little bit different than I normally do for the worm bins. I just put enough water in there for it to soak it up, because if it does have a little bit of salt in it, it will flush out whenever you're watering these plants, so it doesn't really matter as much as it does in the worm bins. So to do it, we're going to fill this bag a little over halfway full with our old potting soil, and we are wanting to put about 4 inches of new material in each bag. So we'll put about 2 inches of the compost and 2 inches of the coconut husk, and then we will mix in a little bit of the fertilizer and the perlite as we mix it. We have it a little over halfway full. Now we're wanting to fill it up almost to the top with the compost and the coconut husk. So we're going to put about 2 inches of each, which will give us 4 inches of new material. So you can basically just act like this is a garden bed, because in a garden bed you'll want to put 3-4 inches of new material on that bed each year to amend your soil. So you can basically just act like this is a garden bed as far as how you amend it. There's our compost. Roughly 2 inches. Our coconut husk. For the fertilizer, we want to add about 1/3 of a cup to 1/2 a cup of this, and we'll go back and top dress it later as the season goes. And we're going to add about 1/4 cup to 1/3 cup of the blood meal. Perlite, we're just going to add a few handfuls of it. Then you just mix it all up together real good. Make sure you get to the bottom of the bag, because most of your roots is going to go down. The reason I like to use these bags, it actually prunes the roots as it grows, because that root will try to grow through this bag and it'll air prune it, which tells the plant to make more roots. So instead of having a bunch of tap roots going down and spinning around the bottom of the container like you do in a hard plastic container, these actually prune themselves and grow a big fibrous ball of roots, so it can take up nutrients and water a lot better. You can just throw all of this stuff in that buggy and mix it up with a shovel, but it takes a while to mix it with a shovel, and it's kind of hard on my arms and shoulders and everything, so I prefer just to mix it in the small batches in the container it's going to be put in. Okay, so after you get it mixed up, you can see there's about 2 inches left. I want to go ahead and top this off with the old potting soil, so the top of your surface will stay dry most of the time anyway, and your roots won't go up into it, so it don't matter if it has nutrients in it or not. Most of your roots are going to stay down here in this material. And that's all you have to do. Now we'll water this in real good and let it sit for a little bit, and then we'll just dig our hole and pop our plants or seeds down in it. I'm going to go ahead and fill up the rest of these bags, and then we'll show you what plants we put in these and just talk about it a little bit more. Having fun, buddy? That's good.
And these are my tweezers. See?
Are they?
And you could use them for
Good job. I ended up filling up 6 of the 10-gallon grow bags with what we had. We have that much of the old potting soil left.
One more.
It took a little over 2 buckets of compost, and we've got about a gallon of the coconut husk left. So with what we have left over, I have a 20-gallon grow bag here. I want to fill it up with what we have left, which is going to be pretty close to half compost, and I'm going to put the perlite and everything in it just like I did. I have a little sunflower growing challenge I'm going to enter in. I'll talk about it a little bit more in another video, but I'm going to try and grow one of the sunflowers in this big giant container and see how it goes. I know they don't do as well in a container, but I'm just a little curious to see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this one up, and then we will take them all over to the side of the house where we're going to keep them and water them in, and we'll get ready and put some plants down in them. I have them all planted now. This is just some leftover tomatoes from planting out our chicken garden. That is one of the galas, and those 2 are the cherry bombs. I planted them pretty deep. I put them almost at the bottom of that bin, so they should root out pretty good. These are the super hots that I started this year. I have 2 Scotch bonnets and a Carolina Reaper that I planted in those pots. And whenever you're planting peppers, just make sure you plant them at the same depth they was in the seed cells. You don't want to plant them too deep, or you could end up with rotting around the base, and they just won't do too good. That's how we amend old potting soil. That way we can use it again. If I had any worm castings harvested, I would put 4 or 5 good handfuls in each container, but I won't be harvesting for probably another month, maybe 2 months. So I'll come back whenever these are growing pretty good and top them off with some worm castings. Now all I have to do is just water these in real good and keep the moisture to them. They tend to dry out pretty good whenever they're in the grow bags, but it is really helpful for the root development on the plants to be pruned by the air.